My name is Rick Latona, and this is the open house for mycarstats.com. On the phone, I have Ronnie Kaufman. He is the owner and founder of the site. I also have Adam Beebe, who is the listing broker of the site. Adam, Ronnie, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
So I think the best way to get started, like we've done on most of these, Ronnie, if you would tell the audience kind of the history of the website and what the website's all about.
Sure. Hi, guys. In the year 2000, I sold my consulting firm in Minneapolis, and which I had for 16 years, to my partner, and wanted to continue doing something and stay occupied and to continue bringing in revenue. And also at that same time, I had recently been to my car dealer to get my car fixed, only to find out that like 2 weeks before, my warranty had expired. And I said, you know, there's got to be a solution for this. And in talking with some people, I found that there was, and the idea of creating My Car Stats came about. And about 6 months later, we had launched My Car Stats to begin with. The initial launch in March of 2001 was a fee-based system. There was really nobody else in this space that we were entering. And shortly after that, within a couple of years, lots of other people entered our space, and we stopped charging and made the space free. And the premise that we thought, we had a store that sold safety kits and safety items for cars. And we thought that would be our revenue, a large revenue stream. We didn't do a good job there, and it never became a large revenue stream for us. And in about 2005, 2006, one of the professors from the University of Arizona, who I'm close with, and teaching a e-commerce course at the university, asked if I'd come in and talk about My Car Stats. And a couple of the different classes saw it. They did projects on it. And a recommendation was to put AdSense in. And lo and behold, we put AdSense in and just saw numbers started coming in, dollars coming in. And that became a primary source of income. We brought in other things such as selling warranties, extended car warranties, as the front end to companies who did that as a partner. And so that's it in a nutshell. My initial partner in My Car Stats was strictly a financial partner, and I bought him out in 2006 or 7, and had a partner briefly a technology partner briefly for about 5 or 6 months. They got bought out and did something else entirely. So kind of left me on my own.
Ronnie, do you mind if I jump in and ask a question?
Please, please.
I'm looking at this slide that we're all seeing.
Yep.
And I can't help but to stare at this number of opt-in members and active users. So you've had 460,000 people give you their email addresses and opt in?
Right. That's exactly right.
And 134,000 of them have returned to the site in the last 12 months. Is that what you mean by active?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. And
not to say that the other 300,000 or so, 330,000 or so aren't still good email addresses, but they have not come back to the site since that time.
Right. And so each month you send out 110,000 notifications. Why the discrepancy between that number and the 460 and 134?
Good, and I think we'd end up talking about this a little later. But so who gets an email address? Rather, who gets a monthly email are those members who are active in the last 12 months and the past 30 days, the car or cars they have registered with us have had a new car report. So if there's been no new car reports, then they wouldn't get an email.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't get a notification.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's really fantastic that you get a 28% click-through rate, and that click-through rate is clicking from the email to the site.
Coming back to the site, yeah. Well, and I think there you might have some other slides, but we'll see in a year that there are spikes, and the spikes go quite high, and that's during our monthly notifications that we're sending out. And everything just increases dramatically during that time period.
And you never send more than one email in a month.
Well, there are other emails. Another email that does get sent out when the person registers with us or activates. They also have an option to let us know when their warranty expires, and if they want to get notified 90, 30, and 15 days before their warranty expires, so they can check their car reports and see if they need to get that car into the service station before their warranty expires. So that's a second one. There's probably anywhere from 20 to 50 that go out a day.
All right, that's fantastic. I would think those email addresses have a lot of value. I'll talk about that later on.
Sure.
In the presentation. Let's go over the revenue. So you said the AdSense. The numbers that you provided and we verified, $30,000 a year in AdSense.
That's what we did the last 12 months when we created this. We recently brought on InfoLinks as another source of income. We've had them for 5 or 6 months now, and annualized that would be about $13K. We do the auto warranties. I think there's lots of opportunity there to explore that, and auto warranties, extended auto warranties, are hot today. And I noticed that you didn't really advertise the auto warranties in very many places. Yeah. Again, during my talk, I'll say we, but it's really I. I am the guy who does most of the things here, and I don't do that great a job. And period. And so, yeah.
Do you list the warranties on the newsletter? The email you send out?
We do. We have that on there. Interesting, and I'm getting a big feedback right now.
I'm sorry about that.
Hello. Oops,
yeah.
Still get a good sized feedback, but
I can hear you fine.
We do get. It's interesting. Every click from our email, there are 5 or 6 clicks, and we count every one of the clicks where they click from the email. And there are a few that click from the ad on the email, but most of the time when they come back to the site, they'll click from the site and say they want to have an extended warranty quote sent to them.
Okay, here's a shot of the AdSense earnings, and I assume those spikes are the email blasts that you're talking about?
Let's see. Are you? I'm okay. Yep. Yes. Although, just sharing with you, part of the last screen is still showing. I don't know if I just need to do a refresh. There it comes. And absolutely. We instead of getting 3,000 to 5,000 visitors a day, we get somewhere in the area of 18,000 to 20,000 visitors a day during that time.
Wow, that's a nice spike. Okay.
It would be nice if there were no spikes. One of the things that I wanted to do, instead of sending it out once a month, was to send it out through the month, so that there weren't the spikes, that it was something consistent, not a difficult thing to do. It's just that originally that's how we set it up, and it's not changed since that time.
Got it. So
and I mention also, we recently turned on a new server in the past month, and our server had just gone to sleep. And one of the things that, nice things that happened is, for instance, during that email, we were getting $300 a day during that period from AdSense.
Oh wow, that's great. So you should have on your screen now the InfoLinks thing. So you just started using InfoLinks for the first time in December?
We did, yeah.
Okay, and it's doing, looks like about $1,200 a month, $1,100 a month.
Yeah, it's gone down recently. I'm not quite sure why. Back in March, I went to a AdSense webinar, or rather an AdSense workshop up in Phoenix, and they recommended some changes, and I dramatically saw some things within the week or so after I made the changes, dramatic changes to AdSense. And during that time, saw changes to InfoLinks as far as how much I got per click. Things have come back on AdSense very nicely, and still waiting for it to come back a little bit on InfoLinks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's a screenshot for everybody. Google Analytics. I guess, again, these spikes are all the newsletter stuff. The 20% returning visitors is pretty good. I guess that's also probably due a lot to the emails that you're sending out.
Where are you seeing that, Rick?
I'm looking at the screenshot of Google Analytics.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, yep. But you mentioned about 20%?
Well, no, about 18.95% returning visitors on that pop.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I also think it's good that you have an average pages per visit of 3.38. I think that's relatively high.
It's good, and that they spend a couple of minutes on the site. There are, for a talented person to put some new, and I'll call them, I don't want to call them toys, but new toys on the site so people can play. We have so many numbers and statistics that we have in our databases, and people can just use their imagination to get statistics, but we don't have the vehicle, we don't use the vehicle. So there is so much more to get people to have so many more pages per visit and spend more time on the site, but what it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I have right now, I have a shot of your Facebook page. When did you launch that?
Not that long ago. And I don't know how I ended up doing it, but somehow I did. And again, I'm only seeing half a screen right now, the bottom half. I don't know if it needs a repainting or...
I don't have anybody else
complaining.
If anybody watching is having the same problem, if you could let me know through the question and answer feature on Meeting Burner, I'd appreciate it. And no one on my team is sending.
Okay, good. So we've created a fan page, and I try at least 2 or 3 times a week to get some interesting screens up, rather information, and we usually get 40 to 50 people who have liked us come back and read it, and it's kind of interesting. We also, one of the other things, and I think the next screen that you have, if someone would click on, and so right from Facebook, people can put in their year, make, model car, and then it would bring them into my car stats, bringing them back to our site, and they could then read the reports that are there for their model car. You know, the whole emphasis was the more people we can get back to my car stats, the more clicks on revenue we could be generating.
Sure.
I think we've got maybe 500-600 likes right now. Could it be higher? There's a lot of things that can be done. People with imagination and vision and who know what they're doing, wow, there's just so many possibilities.
Well, I'm not sure that your average consumer is going to like something like this. That doesn't mean that they're not going to go to Facebook and check you out and appreciate and use this tool.
Yeah, you know.
They're not going to like it like in the same way they would like Justin Bieber. So I don't.
100%, 100%. You know, one of the things we did a study before we actually went and put money into creating my car stats. And in the office building I was in, I'd watch when people would walk by our office door. I'd grab them and pull them into the office, and I'd do a little study and ask them, how interested are you in learning about your car? And there weren't many people that said, yeah, I'd like to see reports that are on my car. They won't come back to it. It's not something they live on like Justin Bieber, but once a month they want to know if they can find out what's going on with their car. I mean, that's the way they get around the world today, and so that was an important factor.
Great. The next slide that I'm going to show everybody is just something regarding the keywords that are tracked by SEMrush, which is a popular tool that most people in our business use. For those of you who don't know, it's worth pointing out that SEMrush only launched in December of 2008. That's the only reason the data starts there. It's not an indication of how old the site is. As Ronnie said in the beginning, My Car Stats has been around since 2002. But I thought this was an important slide to show, you know, in the sense that high-quality sites aren't affected by Google's Panda update or their Penguin update. This is the kind of site that Google wants people to find, and I think it's evident in its climb and stability in the keywords.
Can also make mention that during that Google change, we've done nothing but get stronger in our keywords. I look every day to see. I've got about a couple dozen keywords that I look at, and it's automatically generated. And we just keep on getting stronger in the keywords on Google.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have had a couple other people tell me their screen is behind as well, so we'll try to stay on each slide for a little bit longer. I've just switched the next slide to the screenshot of your store.
Yeah, and the bottom just came up, but the top is still the SEMrush.
Okay. Well, like I said, we'll be on this slide. Well,
there it comes. It's coming.
Anybody can click the refresh page to get there quicker, but here it is. So tell us about the store.
Okay. Yeah. I have not used. I've closed the store about 2 years ago, and it was the work that was involved was me doing it, and I just got tired of it. The history of the store, in our heyday, we were doing $40,000-$50,000 a year in the store, gross revenue, and maybe getting $10,000-$15,000 net revenue out of it. At that time, the original partner that I had, when I said he only was a investment partner, but he actually did the store. And when I bought him out, I just couldn't do the store anymore, and I just closed it. There's great opportunity there. Again, we get enough traffic that a store should be generating some amount of revenue there. Being one person, it was just too much for me. So I stopped. We still have the relationship with the distributor. Occasionally, I'll get a phone call, such as from OSHA, who had been doing business with us, and they called and wanted another 20 safety kits, and so I ordered them for them. But other than that, I'm not doing any marketing for the store. It's just, for me as one person, just too much.
Okay. Speaking of being too much, that's an offhanded remark. The next slide that will be coming up says, share with us, if you don't mind, why it is that you're selling this business.
Sure. 10 years ago, I had a vision for My Car Stats to become a household word, where people could come and have a place to go online to research the mechanical and safety issues regarding their model cars, maybe their family and friends' model cars, as well as when they're shopping for newer used vehicle to see, what's being said, what's the government saying about it. And over these years, various life events and circumstances really have prevented me from achieving this goal, and it's something that's been irking me. But the vision still remains as strong as ever that I have. But I'm 65 years old now, recently had gone through a heart bypass, and I finally recognized, people have been trying to get me to do this for a while, but I finally recognized it's time for me to hand over the reins to the right organization or individual who can clearly see the wealth of opportunity that's out there in the automobile marketplace and has the vision, technical resources, and know-how, and most important, the desire to take my car set to the next level. It's kind of like it's been my baby, and I want my kid to be successful. Lots of people know me and know this website. I get emails regularly from users saying, thank you, can you help us, what can you do? And I want to keep that in the vein and see it get better. I would also offer to share with any serious buyer a marketing program for my car sets that's been waiting in the wings for me to implement, that I firmly believe would be a major influence in getting my car sets to the next level.
Okay.
And, yeah.
That's great. One of the next questions I was going to ask was, where do you see the future of the site? What opportunities have you not gotten into? I mean, obviously, I think you just said that you have one idea. If you don't want to share publicly, that any buyer who wants to sign an NDA, you share that.
Right.
Is there anything else that you could share with us publicly?
The future is huge, and again, anybody who knows what they're doing, has some technical resources, and has a desire to take what's at a level right now, where it's at right now, is ready to go to the next level. The pieces are in place. Certainly the marketing audience is there. It's real. It's tangible. It's not imaginary. There's almost 200 million cars in the United States that are registered in the United States today. There's 15 million cars sold every year in the United States. The marketplace is there, and for someone who can do a much better job than I can take this, bring it to the next level. And the next level for me is to start with 5 and 10 times the amount of visitors every day to the site. That's what will make it a truly a revenue generating website.
Okay, great. Now, tell all of us, if you would, what a day in the life of running My Car Stats is like.
Okay. Get up in the morning and turn on the computer and spend about 15 minutes. The daily updates to the database, we get updates every day from the government. And although the government data needs cleaning, it needs organization, we do a whole process on it. And so we first do the download, the FTP downloads on about 4 different files from them. And I look at that and make sure there's nothing strange like a Cadillac Explorer. We won't add that as a new car. And so we do, but there's very little of that comes up. But I do look at it, and I let there are 2 other processes that take place. Let that happen, and it takes about another 15 minutes, and all of our databases are updated.
So that whole thing takes around how much time?
The first process probably takes, which gets kicked off in like at 3 o'clock in the morning, takes, I'd say, about 30 minutes to do the downloads and to do the first process of cleaning of the data. Then I take what's left from the cleaning of the data to see if anything else is left over and make sure all the databases look good. Then I start the next 2 processes, and that takes about 15 total minutes. So, if you want to look at a long period, it might take 20 minutes once I turn the computer on and start looking at the data until the database is clean and updated each day.
And the data shows up at 3 in the morning Pacific time?
Yes.
And you keep using the word we. Is it?
Yeah, as I said, we is me.
Okay. Do you have employees?
I don't.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. So, I suppose before we get into any questions anybody has, and by the way, just for everybody listening, if you have questions, please send them through, because after I'm done with the kind of talking about some of the financials on this thing, it'll be a good time to go into the questions. So other than that, we'll go to the finances. Again, for those who haven't sat through one of our open houses before, I'll explain some of this math that you see on the page. The asking price that we have is shown as $220,000. The revenue and the expenses are what's been reported and verified. What you see in column 4 here, this perpetuity value of $350,000, what that is it's saying that the $35,000 a year at the 10% discount rate would be worth, if you had $35,000 a year for the rest of your life at a 10% discount rate, the today value of that contract would be $350,000. So, for example, if someone told you they'll give you $1 a year forever, what would you pay for that? At 10% interest, it'd be worth $10. So what this formula is trying to do, this whole spreadsheet is trying to do, is it's trying to determine the net present value of a transaction. What is the value of the deal if you paid $220,000 for it and you had a 10% cost of capital and you thought that there was a 10% risk that everything would go horribly wrong? Then essentially in today's dollars you would create $13,400 in wealth doing the transaction. So the way to look at this is what do we think the riskiness of this thing is, and then what do we think that the appropriate price of this website is, and then what do we think the appropriate revenue and the expenses are to go forward. So this is nothing adulterated or changed. This is assuming that it is flat every year, which we all know isn't really how the world works. So the next slide, shows, and Ronnie, you have to excuse me. I'm just kind of, this is just the reality of the past. The next slide shows that if you were to pay that asking price and you don't increase the revenue, and you put a extremely high risk adjustment on there of 30%, then you're going to have a risk-adjusted discount rate of 40%, which could actually destroy $77,000 in wealth the moment you do the deal. So you have to ask yourself, does this thing have that high of a risk? Now, I've put my opinion as the last slide, but I've taken a very different approach on this one than I have on the last couple of them, because to me, we're looking at a property that's been around since 2002. It's a great site. Google has voted for it by not hitting it hard on Panda and Penguin and those other things. But like anything in life, there is a risk, and when you're dealing with a site that relies on Google traffic, the risk needs to be higher than 10%. In this case, I've put 25%. But I've also done something very different here, and that is that I do believe that revenue, that this thing is under-monetized. Most people in our business know, and a lot of the people who are recognized, I recognize their names that are watching this presentation, they know the value of automotive traffic. So I think that using affiliate programs and really getting in there and tweaking and stuff, I think that it's reasonable that you could say, well, I could increase the revenue to $50,000 by the second year, and then maybe $70,000 by the third year. And if you're a believer in the website and you look at this the way I do, you could say, well, okay, now I could say, okay, I'm not going to buy this thing unless I think I can increase the revenue. At least I'm not going to pay $220,000 for it unless I think I can create the revenue. So you would use my spreadsheet, which I'm happy to share with anybody. All they have to do is ask, and you could put in there what you think you can increase the revenue to, but you still discount that future increased revenue by that risk adjustment. So that $50,000 in year 2 is actually discounted by 25% twice because it's 2 years out. So basically, if you took all that math, if you took the $220,000 negative in year 0, and then the $35,000 in year 1, $50,000 in year 2, $30,000 in year 3, and then the perpetuity value, then you discounted all that by 35% a year, which is the cost of capital plus the risk adjustment, you would end up with a positive net present value of 64%. So that's my opinion on the value of the deal. So I don't see that many or any questions. So at this point in the presentation, I'm going to assume that we've done an excellent job of explaining everything and that everybody's 100% clear. Ronnie, is there anything else you wanted to share about this website, or is there anything you think the audience needs to know?
Perhaps a question for you, and with those 134,000 active email addresses, do they have any intrinsic value to them?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. I mean, I think that's a huge part of why the revenue can be increased. I think that if I had to go pay someone for email addresses, if I started an affiliate program and I was willing to pay for every email address that was interested in information about their cars, it would cost me at least $1 an email address. So I think it could be argued that there's $100,000 of value there just in the list alone.
Yeah, and also want to share with everybody, I understand technology, but I'm not a technical guy who could have done all the whiz-bang things and would have liked to. And again, for someone with the know-how, vision, and technical abilities, there's just the opportunity is just endless.
Okay, actually, some questions are starting to pop in. One question I have here, are there any costs associated with the data that you get in order to run the site?
There is not. The data comes from it's public domain information. It comes from the Department of Transportation, and they update it 5 days a week. Or actually, it does. Some of it gets updated 7 days a week. There are recalls. There are technical service bulletins generated from the manufacturers. Consumer complaints that are filed against your make, model, car, and also in any investigations that the government is currently doing on a car that may need a recall.
Okay.
And again, we take that data, we clean it, we massage it. There's so much junk in that data. And so we do a complete job of presenting good information and not the other thing that we do is we also break it up into the 16 major component parts of the car. So when someone wants to look for brakes on a specific car, they can see what's been going on for brakes and et cetera.
So another question that I see here, someone wants to know if you have any other car domains that you own that link to the site, and if so, are they included?
The only thing we have is Facebook, and that links to the site. And again, great opportunities. There's all that stuff can be done, and just to generate more volume and more people. And those are, it's a good question, and it's an opportunity for whoever takes over to make that happen.
Okay. And I see a couple of people asking for clarification on the daily duties and the hours put into it. So I think we established it takes half an hour to an hour to receive and clean and post the data.
Yeah.
Are there any other daily activities?
Day to day. I look at emails that come in from customers. Some have questions. And there's typically less than 10 emails a day. Sometimes it's 1 or 2. The other thing that I end up doing, and again, I hate this, is that I have to go down to the data center and sometimes upload a new, whether it's an operating system or update the operating system or clear something up. And I'm just not that technical guy, the technical whiz that can make all of that stuff happen. I'm amazed at how well, and I'm touting my horn, how well I've done in keeping the system technically together. There are a few resources I use around town. Occasionally I'll call somebody who I know who is an expert in an area, and they will help me out. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm it. On a day-to-day basis, if I spend an hour, and I watch it. I mean, I've got a service that every 5 minutes they ping the site to make sure it's up, and there's been once or twice during the year it's gone down, or the data center I use, they have a hiccup, and I like to know about it, and if there's something I can do, I fix it.
So am I hearing you right that you have your own servers? Is it your hardware in the data center?
Yeah, it's my hardware at the data center.
Okay. So you're using a co-location service?
Yes, that's correct.
Got it. The last question I have here, I have a gentleman asking me if you do any paid advertising at all.
We don't. We've considered it. We get emails. People want to do it. Again, I just don't. I'm one person, and I'm happy just to keep it where it's at right now. But I can't do anymore. I'm at a point where in my life I have got other things I want to do, and want someone to take this, to be successful with it, and willing to help them do that. But I need to do other things in my life now.
When you say you get people emailing you asking to do it, I'm speaking about you buying traffic, not selling advertising.
Do I may buy $3 a day from Google just someone said if you don't do business with Google, they might ding you on the search engine stuff. So I buy a minimum of I might buy 2 or 3 clicks a day, but not because I need the traffic, but because I think it does me good. Whether that's real or not, I don't know.
Okay, well, if it's not scientific, maybe it's karma. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and I think it was very educational for everybody. So
good.
With that, we will end it. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Take care, Ryan.
Thank you.